Poker, at its core, is a war of patience, logic, and nerve. It's a battlefield where psychology meets probability, and where the difference between glory and devastation can be just one card. Every player who's ever sat at a felt table knows that the game's beauty is matched only by its brutality. The highs are euphoric, but the lows can leave even legends speechless. What follows are some of the most unforgettable hands ever witnessed, moments when the poker gods reminded the world that skill only takes you so far. From full houses crushed by stronger full houses to royal flush miracles, these are the hands that define poker's cruel poetry. The Rosvadov Massacre, aces, kings, queens, and chaos. The 2019 Triton Super High Roller in Rosvadov was a spectacle of wealth and nerves. With a $100,000 buy-in and a field filled with the world's top professionals, every decision carried the weight of a mortgage. The hand began innocently enough. Cale Burns opened from the hijack with pocket aces, the dream holding in poker. Sitting in the cutoff, Phil Ivey, perhaps the most feared player alive, peeled back pocket kings. In any ordinary game, that's already a cooler. But poker wasn't finished writing its script. Michael Jang, seated nearby, looked down at ace-queen suited and shoved all in. Then, in a moment that would cement this hand in poker folklore, Kristen Bicknell found pocket queens behind him, and also moved all in. When the dust settled, 4 players were in the pot, all with monster hands. The tension was electric as the flop hit the table, a queen, giving Bicknell top set. The turn and river sealed the deal, and she quadrupled up in spectacular fashion. Phil Ivey, knocked out in a blaze of bad luck, could only stare in disbelief. It was a brutal lesson. Even the strongest hand can crumble when variance comes calling. The lodge cooler. The pain of the perfect hand. If Rosvadov was a nightmare, then the next hand from poker at the lodge was a masterclass in heartbreak. Harley Robb, holding ace-queen of clubs, found himself in a multi-way pot. The flop brought him everything he wanted, the nut flush draw. But he chose to check, perhaps planning to trap. His opponent, nicknamed Slicer, had other ideas. With a mix of draws himself, Slicer bet modestly, and Robb called. Then came the turn, the 9 of clubs, completing Robb's flush. For most players, that's the dream. But for Slicer, it was the jackpot, the stone-cold nuts. As the action built, Robb check-raised, Slicer smooth-called, and by the river, Robb pushed his chips forward again, convinced his hand was golden. Slicer moved all in and Robb snap-called. The moment the cards were turned, the crowd groaned. It was one of those coolers that could haunt a player for years. The kind of hand that reminds you poker isn't fair, it's just ruthless. The London Miracle Fold. Brewer's escape from doom. In high-stakes poker, folding a winning hand is often worse than losing. But in the 2023 Triton 200,000 8-handed event in London, Chris Brewer made one of the greatest folds ever televised. Facing Espen Jurstad, Brewer flopped a king-high flush on a monotone board, a dream scenario. Espen, meanwhile, flopped a set of jacks. The trap was set. The turn brought another jack, giving Espen quads. Brewer, sensing danger, kept his composure, flat-calling Espen's bets while replaying every possible combination in his head.
And note that Brewer is drawing live.
But just immediately looking over at Espen.
On the river, Espen shoved all in. Brewer burned through time chips like oxygen, muttering hand ranges aloud, analyzing the improbable. "You don't have many bluffs," he murmured, almost to himself. The cameras caught the moment his instinct overruled his ego. Brewer folded. Espen showed the quads, confirming that Brewer had just saved his tournament life with one of the best reads in modern poker history. In a game where courage is praised, this was a rare example of wisdom being worth even more. The big game classic, Vanessa Rousso, silences Tony G's poker history is full of loud personalities, but few louder than Tony G. During the big game in 2010, his table talk was relentless. Every hand, every decision, every opponent. He had a word for them all. But that night, Vanessa Rousso had a quiet answer. Tony opened with a reckless 6-5 offsuit, and Rousso, holding pocket aces, just called. It was a trap laid with surgical precision, giving Tony 2-pair and all the confidence in the world. He fired out a bet Rousso raised, and Tony re-raised again, pounding his chest with bravado. Then the ace of spades hit the turn, giving Rousso top set. Tony, undeterred, fired another bullet, this time a small blocker bet designed to keep the pot manageable. Rousso just called again, baiting the hook. The river brought the 5 of hearts, giving both players full houses. But Rousso's was higher. Tony jammed, and Rousso snap called. When the hands were revealed, Tony G went silent. It was the rarest sight in poker, Tony without words. Rousso smiled politely, doubled up, and delivered a masterclass in patience and poise. Sometimes silence is the sweetest revenge. Poseidon's Wrath, Dan Jungleman, Kates, and the Sinking of Punsri. Fast forward to 2023, Triton Super High Roller Series in Cyprus. The buy-in? $200,000. The stakes? Godly. And fittingly, Dan Jungleman Kates was dressed as Poseidon, trident, and all. Across the table, Punat Punsri, one of Thailand's sharpest poker minds, looked down at pocket aces and raised. Kates called with pocket eights, perhaps just looking to see a flop. And what a flop it was. 8-8-6. Kates flopped quads. Punsri, with no idea of the tidal wave coming, bet confidently, and Kates called with deceptive calm. The turn brought the ace of diamonds, giving Punsri a full house and sealing his fate. He checked, planning to trap what he thought was a weaker hand. Kates bet small, and Punsri, thinking he had the world locked up, called. The river changed nothing. When Kates shoved, Punsri couldn't fold, and instantly saw the truth. Poseidon had struck. The hand became legendary not just for the cards, but for the theatrics. Jungleman, dressed as a god, had summoned divine variance itself. The royal redemption. Jungleman's once-in-a-lifetime miracle. Lightning struck twice for Kates. Later in the same Triton series, he found himself facing Mikita Badziakuski in a massive pot. Rui Chao had opened with ace-10, and Mikita decided to move all in, representing strength but holding little. Kates, trusting his instincts, made the call for over $250,000. They agreed to run it twice, 2 separate boards for half the pot each. Mikita won the first. The second seemed hopeless for Kates until the deck performed a miracle. The flop gave him a flush draw, the turn bricked, and then the river, the jack of hearts. Royal flush, the rarest hand in poker, the impossible dream. The crowd erupted as Kates realized what had just happened. Even Mikita laughed, shaking his head. In poker, sometimes the pain cuts both ways, and sometimes the game repays its debts in style. Patrick Antonius, the art of losing beautifully. There's no poker player more stoic than Patrick Antonius, calm, controlled, and ice-cold even in defeat. But not even he could hide his heartbreak at the 2023 EPT Barcelona. He defended his big blind with ace-7, suited against Robin Ilitalo's ace-jack. The flop came ace-jack-7, giving both players 2-pair. The turn brought another ace, upgrading both to full houses. Antonius's the weaker of the two. The river was irrelevant, and when Ilitalo bet big, Antonius shoved, convinced he was value betting. The snap call came like a dagger. Ilitalo tabled his stronger boat, and Antonius, ever the gentleman, nodded, smiled, and simply said, "Nice hand." It was a cooler in its purest form, a perfect trap set not by a player, but by fate itself. Three boats collide. The EPT Barcelona Massacre. If two full houses colliding is rare, three in one hand is absurd. Yet that's exactly what happened during the 2012 European Poker Tour in Barcelona. Theo Jorgensen opened with Ace-King, and four players called a recipe for chaos. The flop came Queen 6-6, giving two players trips and another player Poplavski's. With no queens left in the deck, he should have been invincible. Poplavski's led out, hoping to get called by a 6. One opponent called, and then another, Troyanovsky, jammed his stack in. After some hesitation, everyone joined the party, creating a massive three-way all-in pot. The 1% miracle, Olivier Busquet's resurrection, and then there's the hand that defied mathematics itself. The 2014 EPT Barcelona Super High Roller was down to its final table. Sven Reichard opened with pocket kings, and Olivier Busquet, short-stacked and desperate, shoved all in with ace-2 suited. Reichard snap-called. The flop came King 8-8, giving Reichard a full house. Busquet's chance to win? Less than 1%. He needed runner-runner aces to survive. A scenario that happens roughly once in 1,000 hands. The turn was an ace. The table murmured. The river? Another ace? The room erupted. The commentators could hardly believe it. Busquet, from the brink of elimination, had pulled off the impossible. A resurrection so improbable it became instant poker legend. He would go on to win the entire tournament, taking home nearly 900,000 euros. It was more than luck. It was destiny, wrapped in variance, sealed with disbelief. The beauty of brutality. Poker is not just a game of numbers. It's a study of human resilience. Every bad beat, every miraculous river, tells a story about control and chaos, confidence and collapse. These hands are more than just moments of fortune. They're parables about life itself. The player with the best strategy doesn't always win. The most disciplined mind can still be undone by randomness, and yet, it's this very unpredictability that makes poker irresistible. You play perfectly. You make the right reads, and sometimes, the deck still stabs you in the heart. From Phil Ivey's doomed kings to Busquet's divine comeback, poker continues to remind us that mastery is no match for fate. The river doesn't care about your skill, your discipline, or your bankroll. It only cares about drama. And that's the paradox of poker. It's cruel but beautiful, random yet poetic. Because for every broken heart on the felt, there's a story that lives forever. In the end, the greatest poker players aren't the ones who never lose. They're the ones who can take the beat, shuffle the deck, and whisper with a smile, "Deal me in." Please don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel for more such amazing videos. See you next time.